Found out that his wife was cheating on him with another man.
She's my wife, man. She's my wife. That is my wife, man. This is my wife.
You are rude.
But he would end up becoming a millionaire for that same reason.
Jilted husband is getting a multi-million-dollar payday from the man he says ruined his marriage. Keith King sued his wife's lover after a dramatic confrontation and won.
Keith King believed he had the perfect marriage. He was happy. He worked alongside his wife, and they had a quiet life.
I felt like we were a perfect pair. We were a team.
However, a series of flirtatious messages on Danny's cell phone made him suspect that something was wrong, and that's when he decided to call that number to find out the truth.
The answer, I simply said, she is a married woman. Do not contact her ever again.
The truth is that after that call, nothing changed. His wife continued to have meetings with Francisco Huizar, and the relationship seemed to be getting more and more serious. However, Keith couldn't stand it and went to confront them at the apartment now shared by the new couple.
She's my wife, man. She's my wife. That is my wife, man. You're picking him over me. You're picking him over me now?
That day changed the desolate man's life forever. Without his wife, he didn't know what to do.
Tell me about that day you confronted your wife and her lover.
If she had been in a car accident and I walked up on the car accident and saw her, in the car, that's what it felt like to me. I felt like I just witnessed her.
Keith was devastated. His marriage that was doing so well was now on the floor. However, out of the blue, a friend gave him an amazing idea.
I was like, wait a minute, are you serious? You can sue the person that destroyed your marriage? She said, absolutely.
Do you think he really thought you were going to go through with this?
No, I think he thought it was a joke.
The concept that entered Keith's head was alienation of affection, a legal loophole that allowed the affected person to sue his or her partner's lover for being the primary trigger for the breakdown of a seemingly good relationship. Of course, it is not easy to prove it, but in this case, all the flirtatious messages between Danny and Francisco would be enough for the judge to take them into consideration.
Most of the cases that people want to bring would never yield this type of result. This was a very classic case that just happened to have all of the factors.
This is what ended up giving the win to Keith in this case. The truth is that it was not a run-of-the-mill ruling. Francisco Huizar will have to pay a little under $9 million for having destroyed his current partner's marriage to her ex-husband. However, of course, this is far from being something that would make Keith happy, who just wants his life back.
How did that feel to have that judgment?
It felt like the truth had come out. It felt like I was right. There isn't a dollar amount that you can put on it for what I think my family's worth.
This case is not entirely uncommon in the United States, and there is already a record of other court rulings related to the destruction of a relationship by a third party. Of course, the results do not always end up in such a high sum of money, but they have happened.
Married 12 years, had children.
It was like someone calling you and telling you a family member had just suddenly and tragically died.
His marriage had died, and according to court records, another man.
He came to my house and we shared stories. We talked about personal lives.
The man was found guilty of intentionally wooing Kevin's wife away, right in his own home.
There's an old law still on North Carolina books and also 6 other states. It's called alienation of affection. And for one man in eastern North Carolina, well, it meant a huge payout. But will he see any of that money?
Kevin Howard is that man, and in this Pitt County courtroom, he sued the man his wife had an affair with and won a judgment of $750,000.
I filed the case because I feel it's very important that people understand that the sanctity of marriage is important, especially in this day and age when people question everyone's morals, people question everyone's viability as a person, and the state backed me up on it.
Of course, many people are asking for this law to be eliminated, thinking that the fines are sometimes very high and people can rarely pay them, and because it is also something that has been in place since the 1800s, and clearly it should be updated in the country.
I think the law should be repealed. There have been several legislative movements and attempts to have the law removed, but those have failed.
The old law is from the 1800s and follows English law dating back to 1745, when wives were considered property. Attorney Paul Jenkins also questions why it still remains.
I think it's somewhat antiquated and old in nature.
Today, either husband or wife can sue someone they believe damaged their marriage.
The defendant, he did things purposely. He would visit with her when I was at work.
Of course, as long as it was still in good standing, several people were able to benefit thanks to this law. What they did was to take something that could be simply understood as an infidelity to a much more complex legal problem. This is how they got juicy sums of money that they will probably never fully receive because of how complicated it can be for someone to pay such an amount. It is more than justifiable if these people want to appeal. But what remains for the others is that legally it was proven that they were right.
She's my wife, man. She's my wife. That is my wife, man. You're picking him over me. You're picking him over me.